Welcome to episode 4 of our Nobody special series. This one is entitled Changed. I think one of the most freeing things in life is figuring out how simple things really are. I believe in small groups 100% because Jesus used that to develop his disciples. We saw how he dealt with the thousands on just a couple of occasions, but his usual procedure, process, methodology, whatever, was working with the 12 and then the 3, and every now and then he'd give one of his disciples a little one-on-one attention as needed. But this session, we're going to take note that even with Jesus, there's room to break outside his methodology. After all, ministry and mission is all about people, and we need to do whatever it takes to reach people. Now, one of my favorite Jesus stories is when he takes his disciples on a boat ride across the Sea of Galilee. There was nothing accidental about this trip. And we read in Mark chapter 5, in verse 1, they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes, and when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been bound with shackles and chains. But he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. And crying out with a loud voice, he said, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you, by God, do not torment me." So a very troubled and demon-possessed man does the meet and greet with Jesus as he comes to shore with his team of disciples. Would Jesus load up the crew just to meet this guy, or was there a greater purpose? I think the whole story proves that proves that Jesus goes out of his way on purpose to encounter this man. And that's not far-fetched. Listen, he left heaven and came to earth for the sake of the world. I don't know about your story, but I know that he came out of nowhere to rescue me from myself. We might think that certain people aren't worth the trip or the effort. They're damaged goods. They're too far gone or whatever. But the testimony of this man is that no one is too far gone for Jesus. And as we read, this guy was pretty bad off. The entities within this man, often referred to as the demoniac, were crying out to Jesus because he was saying to them, as we read, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." This man that had been haunting the cemetery for quite some time was jacked up for a reason. And Jesus proved ready for the task. Jesus proved that no amount of demons are a challenge to him. You may have troubles in your life. You may know people that have troubles in their life, extreme troubles. But this man had a slew of demons inside of him. He was messed up. For now, I will spare you from the gnarliness of how Jesus cast the demons out. So we'll skip ahead in our reading and see that this man is transformed on the spot as we pick up in Mark 5:14 through 20. The herdsmen fled and told it in the city and the country, and people came to see what was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon demon-possessed man and to the pigs. And they began to beg Jesus to depart from them, to depart from their region. And as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might be with him. And he did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." And verse 20 tells us, "And he went away and he began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled." In short order, he is clothed and in his right mind, ready to give his complete allegiance to Jesus. Listen, when chaos reigns in our lives, Jesus can put it back in order. No one in the Decapolis is giving this guy a second thought, and no one for sure is crossing Galilee for this encounter with this man. So Jesus goes where no one else would go and rescues a man that could not have been rescued by anyone else. So let's try for a second. Let's be that guy. No friend guy. Smell bad guy. Not in your right mind guy. And then you find that you have a friend in Jesus. So your natural inclination is to not let your new friend Jesus get out of your sight, right? Except he won't let you go on the boat with him and cross the lake. Here's what happened. Jesus commanded this new friend to go and tell his friends how much the Lord had done for him. Jesus didn't come just for him. I don't know about you. There are times that I feel like Jesus came just for me. He just makes you feel that way. You see, Jesus was on a mission. He didn't just come to save you or me. He came to save the world. You know, the gospel came to you on its way to someone else. You know, sometimes we don't know how to just be grateful. This man was grateful to God. Jesus commanded him to stay back and share his story. And this all happened in one day, in just a few hours. He was changed in one day. Jesus didn't coach him up for 3 years or even 1 year. He barely had a couple of hours with Jesus. The Gadarene was obedient, and he gave the most basic testimony of telling what the Lord had done for him. He told how he was one way, and now he was another. He was changed. We don't always have time on our side to develop disciples. We don't always have time on our side to methodically share the gospel with somebody. As a young child, I knew enough to share the gospel with kids my age, and so I did. Of course, we need to grow in our faith and understanding of Scripture so that we can get better. You know, we can better expound the Scriptures. In fact, Jesus taught disciples making disciples. But when it comes down to it, we have no excuse in not sharing the gospel. This man had his experience with Jesus. It was enough. He was nobody special, just somebody that said yes. And we find that when Jesus changes a man, the possibilities become limitless. He can use you to reach people you don't even know yet, or people that you wouldn't dream of having access to. God used this man that was characterized as a demoniac to reach the 10 cities on the other side of Galilee. He's not the guy anyone else would have picked for this job. Yet, God can change a life in a moment. We also see in this man a key trait of a disciple. I mean, evidence that real change has taken place. He becomes a doer. As you dive in your discussion questions, I want you to meditate on this one first. Have you been changed by the gospel?